Before we dive in, do a quick check and smash that like button to prove you aren't a soulless robot. Seriously, the YouTube algorithm is a needy little baby that craves attention, so feed it some comments or the video dies. Just write anything and hit like. This is the story of Will. He is stuck at a magic academy. Since he can't cast spells to save his life, he compensates by hitting things really hard with a sword. It's brute force over brain power. We cut to Professor Edward teaching fire magic. He decides to pick on Will for a demonstration, knowing fully well the kid is a magical dud. Edward absolutely loathes him, so he enjoys watching Will struggle at the front of the class, trying to squeeze out a spark. Obviously, absolutely nothing happens. The class immediately starts roasting him, calling him a total failure. Edward silences the Tsue, admitting he just wanted to publicly shame Will to prove he can't do basic magic. Ironically, Will is book smart, just completely magically impotent, which is awkward. The professor thinks letting a muggle attend this school is a crime. Suddenly, a jerk named Tsue shoots a fireball from his desk to ignite Will's catalyst. The teacher doesn't care about Will, but a charred student is a mountain of paperwork, so he tells Tsue to chill out. Tsue gives a fake apology, claiming he was just helping the failure realize he doesn't belong here. Edward ignores the bullying and starts monologuing about how magic is the supreme power in this world, meaning if you can't cast spells, you are basically wasted space. He stares right at Will. After class, Will is exhausted from absorbing all that radiation. To make it worse, Tsue follows him out to keep talking trash. Luckily, Will has a fan club of one. A girl named Colette steps in to defend him. Tsue asks why she bothers helping him. Since she is top tier and Will is bottom tier, Colette argues Will is nice and secretly ripped under his uniform, like Gigachad ripped. She praises his work ethic. Tsue is stunned, then laughs because hard work doesn't fix a lack of mana. Magic is everything, effort is nothing. He will never graduate. Tsue and his goons finally leave. Walking the halls, Colette tells Will to ignore the haters and their purely garbage opinions. Will shrugs it off, admitting he is technically magicless. Plus, the hate means a cutie like Colette talks to him, so winning. Colette blushes hard, teasing that he needs more than flattery to date her. Will claims he's just stating facts, calling her beautiful again. Colette turns into a tomato and looks ready to pass out. She shoves him away to cool her overheating brain. She tells herself she can't fall for a broke guy. After calming down, she sees Will staring at the sky like a philosopher. Suddenly, a deep-voiced narrator drops some heavy lore. Long ago, humanity lived in darkness, terrorized by invaders. Then 5 mages teamed up to beat them back and bring the light. These legendary heroes are known as the Magivanda, a title for the absolute strongest. No living wizard compares to them, except maybe the ones in the tower. Colette asks if the Ice Maiden is watching them. Will is certain she is, gazing down from the top of the tower. You might ask, who is she? Time for a quick flashback. Back when Will was tiny, he had a friend named Elf who loved reading about the sky. Her dream was to see a real sunset, supposedly the most beautiful thing. She wanted to become a Magivanda. Will promised to join her at the top. It was a kid's promise, but they took it deadly serious and grinded hard. Elf actually made the cut. Will, having 0 magic, got left behind, but he refuses to quit, diving into dungeons to claw his way up. He never yields. Back in the present, Professor Werkner is lecturing Will for diving into the dungeon alone again, like a suicidal maniac. Going to the 7th floor solo is just stupid. He is worried the kid will die young. Will says sorry, then immediately asks if he gets extra credit. Werkner is annoyed, but Will drops loot from an evil guard he killed. That shuts him up and earns Will 2 points. Will celebrates with his little pet, while Werkner files the boring paperwork. The teacher asks if Will has finally given up on his dream. To advance, he needs a mountain of credits. Specifically, he is way behind on the required score. Normal students get points by, actually doing magic. But since Will is a dud, he gets 0 points for spells, putting him at a massive disadvantage. He can only earn credit through dungeon diving and theory. Will knows the math is bad, so he tries to grind extra credit. But Werkner explains that grinding mobs isn't enough to pass the semester. The system is rigged. Will knows he is statistically screwed, but he refuses to let go of the promise he made to Elf years ago. However, Werkner drops the hammer. If Will doesn't get points soon, he won't even graduate, let alone ascend. He failed his last exam, so he needs 4 credits by the end of the week, or he is expelled. Will panics. 2 days isn't enough. He frantically checks his bestiary, looking for a monster that drops exactly 4 credits and won't instantly kill him. Seeing his desperation, Werkner sighs and hints at a specific target, even though he shouldn't be encouraging this madness. There is a monster on the 6th floor. Kill it, get the credits. Will tackles the teacher with a thank you hug. Werkner peels him off, reminding him boundaries exist for a reason. Also, hugging students is a great way to get fired. Unfortunately, Tsue the stalker was listening outside the door. He ignores the awkward hug and focuses on the intel. Will is hunting a Basquero Wily. Tsue decides to get there first, kill the mob and ensure Will fails out of school. Later on, Will reaches the 6th floor in high spirits. He has beaten this enemy type before, so he thinks it's in the bag. His pet thinks he is being cocky, but Will assures the little guy it's fine. As long as he dodges the fire breath, he won't get extra crispy like last time. He relies on Kiki's nose to track it. Meanwhile, Tsue and his goons are on a dedicated hater mission. Plan A, kill the monster. Plan B, beat up Will. The lackeys are nervous. Being this deep in the dungeon with only 3 people is usually a death sentence. Tsue gets offended, bragging that he is worth 10 wills. The friends shut up, realizing that arguing with an ego that big is pointless. Tsue marches on, fueled by pure spite. He thinks a magicless loser shouldn't even look at the tower. Therefore, Will's existence is a personal insult to him. Deep in the dark, Tsue turns to give orders to his squad. Instantly, one of his friends gets punted into a wall by something unseen. Panic mode engages immediately, but Tsue freezes, staring down a massive threat. Nearby, Will hears the screaming and realizes someone is having a very bad day. He is surprised anyone else is down here, but rushes over to play hero. Will arrives and peeks from cover, watching someone spam fireballs at a monster in a total panic. The magic does nothing and Tsue is terrified. It's an evil sentinel. Defeating that thing is worth 10 credits, a jackpot for Will. But it shouldn't be here. High-level monsters belong on deeper floors, so this is a major glitch in the system. He squints and realizes the guy about to get eaten is his bully Tsue. Tsue is completely doomed, but Will actually pauses to watch. Considering Tsue has been a total nightmare, letting him perish seems fair until a flashback hits. He recalls Alfaria telling him she loves kindness. His future wife prefers gentle men, so letting his bully die would basically ruin his chances with her forever. She liked his soft side so much she gifted him those nerdy goggles, which he still wears religiously to this day. To keep his nice guy streak alive for her sake, he has to save the jerk, even if Tsue definitely doesn't deserve it. Just as the monster strikes, Will steps in with his blade. Meanwhile, Edward bursts into Werkner's office, snitching that Tsue and his crew entered the dungeon illegally and are probably dying right now. He demands Werkner track them. The teacher summons his bird familiar to locate the idiots before they become monster snacks. Hearing they are on the 6th floor actually relaxes Werkner. He knows Will is nearby, and that kid is basically a one-man army who can handle the threats. He fires up his crystal ball to spy on the action live. Usually crystal balls are for creeping, but here it reveals something epic. The footage shows Will absolutely bullying the evil sentinel with 0 magical assistance. He slices off the monster's fingers instantly. When it tries to swipe back, he blocks and dances away effortlessly. Will rushes in faster than the beast can track. Before it reacts, Will is already climbing it, driving his sword deep. Tsue stares in disbelief, realizing the loser is actually overpowered. Edward is stunned too, so Werkner explains Will is a freak of nature. He has superhuman power and a body more durable than a Nokia brick. Plus, his eyes are sharp enough to predict enemy moves and formulate a perfect counterattack in real time. Will is a Dark Souls character with maxed out dexterity, infinite stamina, and enough strength to decapitate a god. On screen, Will dodges a fatal blow with ease and chops off the creature's arm like it's butter. Who needs magic when you have raw, unadulterated violence? As the monster screams, Will grabs its own massive sword to deliver the final execution. The beast tries a desperate plasma blast, but Will slices it in half, proving once and for all that strength builds are superior to mage builds. Dust settles and Will checks on his bully. Tsue hates him, but being saved makes calling Will a failure pretty difficult right now. Even Professor Edward, watching remotely, isn't impressed. Instead, the display of physical power just makes him angrier. He can't stand a non-magical student outperforming wizards, so he storms out of the office in a rage. Werkner is proud, but also annoyed that Will risked his neck in the dungeon again. However, results are results. For slaying the Sentinel, he awards Will 10 solid credit points. Suddenly, we are assaulted by another flashback. 5 years ago, Will was the school joke because he had 0 mana. He only got enrolled because he was friends with the prodigy, Alfaria. But once she ascended to the tower, people stopped pretending to care. Since then, he has endured constant mockery while grinding harder than anyone else to survive. Werkner took Will to face the principal. She naturally doubted a magicless kid belonged in her prestigious academy. But she handed him a sword for a test, and he countered her fire spell instantly. Impressed, she allowed him to stay, shocking Werkner, who assumed the kid would be kicked to the curb. She knows he lacks magic, but is curious to watch his struggle. Will asks if strength alone can get him to Alfaria. She warns him the path is brutal and success is statistically unlikely. Even with effort, failure is still probable. As he leaves, she smiles, treating his life like entertainment. Back in the present, Will is in remedial class learning about the massive magic tower. Climbing it means graduating to the institute and eventually becoming a Magivanda at the peak. To advance, you need to invent a new spell or accumulate a ridiculous 7,000 credits at the school. Since inventing magic is basically impossible for teens, most just grind for the points. But this is the loser class, so everyone here is at risk of flunking out, especially Will. After class, Werkner checks in on Will's mental state. His tutoring is brutal, but Will admits he is grateful. Most teachers would have given up on him, but Werkner actually puts in the effort to help. Nearby, Sion's lackeys are hyping him up for killing the evil Sentinel. They were unconscious during the fight, so when they woke up and saw Sion alive, they assumed he was the hero. They treat him like a god, but Sion knows he is a total fraud. He knows Will did the heavy lifting while he wet his pants. Sion spots Will passing by and instinctively walks over to start some beef. He pauses. It is hard to bully someone who can bench press a monster. He releases Will's jacket and walks away silently, his ego thoroughly deflated. Colette asks what that was about, sensing the weird vibe. Meanwhile, Edward barges into the principal's office. He demands Will's immediate expulsion. She asks why he wants to kick out a senior student right before graduation. Edward argues that Will is a warrior polluting a school meant for wizards. His fragile ego can't handle a muggle being competent. The principal pulls Will's file. His written grades are flawless and his reports are stellar. Aside from the tiny detail of having 0 magic, Will is the perfect student. If he didn't want to be a mage, he would crush it in any other career. She reminds Edward their job is to train the strong, regardless of method. Edward insists that Will's ambition to be a Vanda is the problem. Seeing he won't let it go, she offers a compromise. Edward can test Will personally. If the kid fails, he gets the boot. Edward asks if she is crazy for handing Will over to his biggest hater, but she says it doesn't matter. She thinks it will be entertaining to see the Dark Viper wizard try to crush a magicless boy. Cut to Will getting ready for his next torture session. He asks Colette for locker assistance. She helps him out, and he apologizes for being helpless with magical locks. Colette spots his sword in the locker and asks if he is still secretly training. He admits he is, despite the school banning it, and his roommate nagging him about safety constantly. Later in the library, Will is studying like his life depends on it. Colette tells him to chill since he already knows this stuff, but Will refuses to slack off even for a second. He needs every single credit point. He is obsessed with dwarf history because he identifies with their stubbornness and lack of magical talent. They fought powerful wizards and never gave up, just like him. Colette notices a white hair on his head, probably caused by stress and overworking. She insists on plucking it out, ignoring his protests to get close. But before the romance can bloom, Edward appears like a jump scare and orders Will to follow him. Shortly after, Will arrives at the salon, wondering why he isn't expelled yet. Edward claims he is offering a special tutoring class, and Will should be grateful. Everyone knows Edward hates him, so this tutoring is obviously a trap. He wants to test Will's combat limits. He fires a spell to show he isn't playing. The deal is simple: land 1 hit on the teacher and he gets 5 credits. If he fails, he is expelled immediately. Edward makes it clear that refusal is not an option. Then he winds up a spell to knock Will unconscious. Meanwhile, Werkner gets summoned to the principal's office, where she apologizes for dragging him in so suddenly. She wanted him to know Edward is currently testing Will. She opens a magical window to live stream the unfair fight. then forbids Werkner from interfering at all. She claims it's only fair since Werkner got his way when he asked to mentor Will. Still, Werkner thinks letting Edward run the test is sadistic. Edward almost became a Magivander before he washed out, but he still wields that level of power, so Will is in serious trouble. Surprisingly, Will is dancing around the spells, dodging everything thrown at him, but Edward is only using basic dark magic. Will realizes he must counterattack. He flanks Edward and throws a kick, but a magic shield blocks it instantly. That barrier is too tough for bare feet. Edward calls him a moron for trying to kick through magic. He shoves Will back, making the boy realize the power gap might be too wide. Edward claims he will limit himself to just 2 spells, one for burning and one for defense. Although restricted to 1 attack, Edward spams it relentlessly. Will desperately dodges the flames, knowing getting scorched is not an option. He runs for his life, but Edward still manages to tag him. The teacher grins, clearly loving the opportunity to legally torture the student he hates most. Will hits the floor, realizing he cannot win this fight unarmed. But with his sword, he might actually stand a chance. Meanwhile, Colette is at her locker, worrying about Will. Edward demanding a private session is obviously a massive red flag, and she has a bad feeling about this. Suddenly, Kiki sprints into the room. Covered in Will's blood, desperately scratching at the locker, Colette realizes Will is in trouble, so she smashes the locker open. Back in the torture chamber, Edward looms over Will, taunting him that he will never become a Magivander if he is this weak. Magic always rules supreme, even when dwarves fought wizards in the ancient wars. 10,000 dwarves were wiped out by 1 mage. A sword cannot beat a wand, yet despite the impossible odds, Will still refuses to give up his dream. He will do whatever it takes. Edward cannot comprehend this level of stubbornness. He asks if Will has some grand, noble goal. Will admits he just wants to stand beside her. Edward thinks that is absolutely pathetic. It might sound stupid to a bitter teacher, but Will promised Alfaria he would watch the sunset with her at the top. Just then, Colette bursts in and tosses Will his sword. Now that he is armed, he instantly slices through Edward's fire spell. Edward is shocked, realizing the blade itself has some special anti-magic properties. Still, Edward is determined to prove a muggle cannot beat a mage. Will is terrified of the flames and would honestly love to run away right now, but he has to move forward. He charges, dodging the barrage of fire. Closing the distance, he shatters Edward's barrier and manages to land a single scratch on the teacher's cheek. Edward is furious. He is forced to pass Will, tossing the credits and leaving with shaking legs. He knows Will could have easily taken his head. Will collapses from exhaustion, and Colette rushes in to celebrate his survival. The principal is impressed, and Werkner praises Will's strategy of diving into the attack to strike from a blind spot. It was brilliant. Only Will could do that. Most impressively, his strike shattered a magic shield. Maybe he actually has what it takes to be a Magivander. Now, in another flashback, we see Alfaria giving Will his signature goggles, right before she left to ascend the tower without him. As she walked away, Will swore he would find a way to climb the tower and rejoin her. Even without magic, he promised to beat the odds and watch the sunset by her side. Alfaria was moved, tearing up and promising to wait for him, no matter how long it takes. Will vowed to become a Magivander, no matter the cost. Back in reality, Will is busy with his paper route. He works multiple part-time jobs just to pay tuition. He runs into Donan, who wishes him luck. It is a nice, wholesome moment. Donan mentions he is hitting the tavern later. Will says he will be there, then rushes off to finish work. He trips on the stairs, scattering newspapers all over. But with his insane dexterity, he snatches every single paper out of the air instantly. He misses just one, so he grabs it. He notices an article about Alfaria. She has created another original spell because she is amazing. She is the first to invent 12 original spells. Will is genuinely hyped for her success. Her victory motivates him to grind even harder. He spots another section. Alfaria has sent a specific request to the academy, which is a huge opportunity for him. He sprints to his dorm, begging Rostri to help him craft a magic item immediately. Rostri asks why the panic. Will explains Alfaria's request and insists he must be the one. Since he has the day off, he suits up to prioritize this mission immediately. The job is collecting ice cores, since Alfaria needs a mountain of catalysts. It pays well, but Will just needs Rostri's magic items to even stand a chance. Rostri jokes that Will is high maintenance, but he can't say no to his friend. He hands over some upgraded gear, and Will is incredibly grateful for the support. Will reaches the 4th floor, but it is crowded. Every student wants a piece of this quest. It makes sense since Alfaria is a celebrity. Will prepares to outwork them all. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the cave. Sion is blowing up mobs just to show off his destructive power. His friends cheer, but Sion is secretly dying inside, knowing he is still nowhere near Will's physical power. Ironically, Will sees the explosion and is genuinely impressed. With the crowd stealing kills, Will realizes he needs to go deeper to find any actual loot. Heading down, he spots a girl in trouble and intervenes. Moments later, 3 monsters are sliced in half. The girl is stunned. She has never seen a student fight like that with a sword. Will asks if she is hurt, snapping her out. She nods, introducing herself as Iris. Cut to Werkner giving a lecture. He explains the prestige of creating magic. Inventing magic is the golden ticket to the top of the tower. New spells are usually named after their creator, or have some title associated with them. Even Edward's dark magic is named after some ancient wizard, which is pretty cool. So if a student invents something new, they become a permanent part of history. A student asks if Alfaria is a genius for creating 12 spells. Werkner confirms that she is absolutely incredible and basically a once-in-a-lifetime prodigy. Creating 12 original spells is unheard of for one person. Calling her one of the greatest mages ever is no exaggeration. Hearing this, Colette has to admit Will wasn't lying about how amazing Alfaria is. Her friend Rose teases her, claiming she is just jealous of Will's crush. Colette turns red and yells at Rose, causing a scene that interrupts the entire class. Werkner turns around, telling her to zip it. Meanwhile, Will and Iris trek through the dungeon passage. After introductions, Iris realizes she has heard the rumors. She heard about the magicless boy, the talentless one, which is unprecedented at this academy. Will is shocked that nickname stuck. He asks if she hates magicless people. Iris shakes her head. Why would she hate the guy who just saved her life? She respects talent, regardless if it comes from a sword or a wand. Will blushes. He quickly changes the subject, asking if she is hunting for Alfaria. Iris isn't speaking metaphorically. She literally wants to be one of the heavy lifters holding up the sky, because in this depressing world, the view is fake. The real sky is blocked by the Great Barrier. Legend says if that glass ceiling breaks, total darkness returns and everyone dies in a horrific calamity. So basically, it is the apocalypse. That is why students are desperate to help the Magivanda. It's not just hero worship, it's literally about preventing the end of the world. Iris actually met Alfaria once and Will is shocked. She explains how her brush with death turned into a fan moment. She was trapped in the dungeon, preparing to become Monster Chow, when Alfaria swooped in, saved her life, and casually asked if she was okay. That core memory locked in her loyalty. She is now a ride or die for Alfaria. However, her loot run is a bust. No ice cores and her radar is blank. She assumes the other students picked the place clean, but Will disagrees. He shows her a massive ice shard. Usually Frostwalker dandruff is tiny, but this chunk is huge. That size implies a massive enemy is lurking nearby, probably using stealth hacks to bypass her detection spell. Iris is confused how the magicless guy knows this. He explains that since he can't blast things with mana, he has to actually use his brain. Magic isn't a cheat code for everything. Sometimes you need raw experience. Iris asks what he means. Will points out the giant empty room. In video game logic, a suspiciously large empty arena always means a boss fight. On cue, the Frostwalker ambushes them. Will tackles Iris to safety before she can process that they are being hunted. She looks up and realizes they are fighting a Frost Rex. A Frost Rex is the final evolution of these ice mobs, worth 6 credits. It is basically a mid-level boss designed to ruin your day. The Rex fires a massive laser. Will dodges, narrowly avoiding deep freeze. He drops Iris, telling her to stay back while he handles the prehistoric ice cube. Iris screams that punching it is suicide. Touching the Rex means instant freeze-drying. Melee is off the table, but Will isn't worried. He has a plan that involves zero punching and lots of brain power. As the Rex charges another beam, Will preps Rostri's gadget and rushes in like a maniac. He sidesteps the laser, teleporting behind it. The Rex has slow turn speed, panic firing at nothing. Will hooks a wire to the beast and runs circles around it, basically playing high-stakes tetherball. Once the monster is trussed up like a turkey, Will reveals the trick. Ice is weak to fire. He triggers the device, igniting the wires and detonating the bombs. The explosion is massive, turning the wrecks into a harmless pile of slush. With the enemy reduced to gravel, Will sheathes his weapon, reminding himself to buy Rostri a drink later. Iris is stunned, but her analytical side kicks in. She realizes the rumors were lies. Will is actually terrifyingly competent. She wonders how to report this anomaly, but Will interrupts her thoughts. He holds up a pristine ice core, playing dumb to keep his cover intact. Later, Iris sprints through the wizard's tower, stripping off her disguise. She processes the data she gathered. He has 0 mana, but his creativity is maxed out. His battle IQ and experience are off the charts. He isn't a wizard, but he is a warrior who can kill anything in that dungeon. She reaches the big doors, ready to crash the most exclusive meeting in the world. She apologizes for the intrusion. Carriot waves it off, saying the meeting was boring anyway, but the topic is grim. If the barrier breaks, humanity is toast. The invaders beyond the sky are waiting to feast. The current mage roster is too thin to hold the line for much longer. They are desperate for strong mages before the apocalypse starts. They ask Iris if she found anyone useful. She confirms she found a promising weirdo who could help. If they don't recruit now, the prophecy will destroy them all. They demand a name. She confirms she found a promising person. She drops the bomb. She recommends Will, the magicless wonder, for a seat in the tower. Carriot and Alina hate the idea, but Zell thinks it sounds entertaining. Alfaria stays silent. Zell just wants results. Alina thinks hiring a non-mage is basically blasphemy. Before they start throwing hands, Carriot intervenes. The Grand Magic Festival is coming up. They can let the brutal competition decide his fate. The festival naturally filters out the weak. If Will fails there, he isn't tower material. Simple. Agreed. Meeting adjourned, they teleport out. Alone, Alfaria finally smiles. She is glad Will is still fighting to reach her. She whispers that she will wait forever if she has to. Back at school, students are punching golems for a grade. Defeat one and you pass. Sion and Colette smash theirs effortlessly. Then it is Will's turn. Will flanks for a strike, but the class starts roasting him for using fists. The peer pressure distracts him, proving bullying is effective. The golem swats him across the room like a fly. The crowd loves watching him fail, but across the room the elite students, Lana and Ignule, are crushing it. Then a new challenger approaches, casting high-level ice magic. He freezes every golem in the room instantly. Talk about overachieving. That is Julius, one of the top 3 prodigies in the academy. Lana politely praises the others, but the vibe is competitive. They are rivals, not friends. Julius declares a friendly war, claiming his new ultimate technique will crush them at the festival. He is feeling confident. He offers an ice rose as a dramatic gesture. Ignule and Lana ignore the theatrics. These 3 are the only ones with over 10,000 points. They are the top 1%. Meanwhile, Will is the bottom 1%. He doesn't even have enough credits to graduate and time is running out. Will sits in his depression corner. He realizes he is failing his final year. Julius and his squad stroll by to mock his 0 magic existence. Will steps aside, avoiding conflict because he knows his place. He doesn't want trouble. As the elites leave, Will overhears them discussing the Grand Magic Festival. He completely forgot that was happening. At lunch, Colette drops some truth. Will's only shot at the Maja Vanda dream is getting scouted at the festival. Graduating normally is mathematically impossible now, but the festival is a loophole. It happens every 2 years, attracting the big wigs from the tower who are hunting for talent. They often pick people who haven't hit the credit requirement. It is a scouting ground. It is a recruiting war zone. Different factions fight over the best students. Admissions to the higher institute are basically decided here. If you shine, you get in. There are 5 factions: Ice, Elf, Flame, Light, and, well, mostly led by Majavanders, except the Light faction for some reason. Will is skeptical. He is famous for being a failure. To get noticed, he would need flashy magic, which he definitely lacks. Colette mentions rumors of watchers scouting for talent, but Will thinks that is just an urban legend. He resigns himself to working backstage. Being a stagehand fits a magicless guy better than being a performer. He decides to help with prep instead of competing. Colette insists he could change his reputation if he just competes and shows off his sword skills. Will refuses. The festival isn't an athletic meet. He tried entering in his 2nd year. The audience booed him off stage for using physical attacks. Not happening. Will is still traumatized by the time he got booed off stage. so he wants absolutely zero parts of this circus. Meanwhile, the rest of the school is in full panic mode. They are sweating and training for the upcoming festival like they are preparing for the actual Olympics. Colette plays the career card, reminding him that headhunters from the capital are watching. Even if he doesn't become a Magivanda, he could land a sweet government job just by showing up and proving to the world that he isn't totally useless. The festival is the perfect place to flex, and Colette begs him to show everyone what he can do, but Will still doesn't think a magicless guy belongs in a wizard tournament. She suddenly spots a locker acting suspicious. It has a hidden barrier designed to block sound and sight. Will thinks she is being paranoid, but Colette decides to breach it. Since breaking it herself is risky and might trigger an alarm, she makes Kiki do the dirty work to open it up. The barrier falls, revealing a secret staircase leading to a shady underground casino. Students are down here betting on the festival results like absolute degenerates. Colette is disgusted by this illegal operation happening in the locker room. But then Will spots a familiar face standing right in front of them. It is his favorite stalker, Sion. This is surprising because Sion usually only cares about looking cool, not losing money. Sion immediately starts screaming at Will to get lost and stop meddling. Colette steps in, threatening to destroy him if he starts a fight for no reason. Sion wisely shuts his mouth, and Will asks why he is lurking in a gambling den, since he doesn't seem to be actually placing any bets. Sion refuses to answer directly, but it becomes obvious he is checking the odds on himself. He is visibly salty because nobody is actually betting on him. Even though he is technically ranked 4th in the entire school hierarchy, the gamblers don't seem to care. The top 3 students are untouchable, but Sion is lagging behind with 9,000 points because he totally bombed a writing test once. Since then, he has been grinding to catch up. He insists his magic is elite and he has a real shot at winning. Then he realizes he is justifying himself to his enemy. After oversharing, he wonders why he is even bothering to explain his life story to Will. School ends and Will packs up to leave. Colette tries to ask him out on a date to hang out, but Will shoots her down immediately. He has a night shift to get to, so he unfortunately has no time for romance. Later, Will is waiting tables at the tavern. He serves Donan. Donan feels guilty watching the kid work himself to death. Between the morning paper route, school all day and this gig at night, Will never sleeps. Will shrugs it off. Getting no scholarship means he has to hustle for every single penny just to pay his tuition. Donan suggests he enter the upcoming magic festival to catch a big break, but Will immediately rejects the idea because he refuses to be a public laughingstock again. His boss, Gina, yells at him to stop chatting and get back to work. She points out that Donan works harder than him. Thankfully, Rostri is also there, working as a temporary waiter. He is just helping out to survive the busy dinner rush. Someone quit, so Will was drowning in orders until Rostri stepped in. After the dinner chaos, they start washing dishes. Rostri asks if this grind is really worth the peanuts he gets paid. Will could ask Werkner for a better job, but he refuses to be a burden. Plus, he genuinely likes the people here and having fun with the dwarves. They are honest, hard-working people who treat him with kindness. Naturally, the mood is ruined when Julius walks in to start trouble immediately. He starts insulting the staff because he is a classist jerk. He spots Will and laughs. Claiming a loser belongs with dirty barbarians, Donan gets angry. But his friends hold him back. They know that getting into a fight with a wizard is too dangerous. Julius mocks them for being refugees. Their world was destroyed by Celestials, and humans graciously allowed them to exist here. He claims they have no rights to look at him. Donan swallows his pride because, sadly, the jerk is telling the absolute truth about their status. Dwarves are basically second-class citizens. If Donan fights back, the entire dwarven community in the city suffers the consequences. That is the unfair reality of this world. But Will has had enough of this garbage. He decides that today is his last day, since he is technically unemployed now. He is free to do whatever he wants without endangering the tavern. He walks up to Julius and demands an apology. He praises the dwarves' resilience and tells Julius to shut his mouth. Julius responds by kicking a plate of food at him, which is a massive mistake. Bad move, that counts as assault, meaning everything Will does now is legally self-defense. He grabs Julius's 2 goons and introduces their faces to the hard floorboards instantly. Julius gets food on his clothes and throws a tantrum. He decides to make Will pay, freezing the room and firing ice shards. Will jumps back to dodge, but without a sword, he is at a disadvantage. The ice pins Will to the wall. Julius steps in for the kill. Rostri prepares to intervene, but Julius hesitates. He looks into Will's eyes and sees zero fear. No begging for his life, no panic. That annoys him. He decides freezing him here is too easy. He wants to crush Will publicly at the Magic Festival, instead to maximize the humiliation. Will agrees to the terms. If Julius wins, Will gets expelled forever. If Will wins, Julius apologizes to every dwarf he insulted. The bet is locked in. We jump to the big day of the Magic Festival. The crowd is hype. The Fire faction leader tells his scouts to keep their eyes peeled for talent, because you never know who might be the next big thing. The first event is the Dragon Race. Lana dominates it effortlessly, leaving everyone else in the dust. But there is another drama brewing in the wings. Next up is the race to the crown. Sion is in a great mood because Colette personally asked him to join her team. He assumes she finally recognized his greatness. He opens the training room door and finds Will. Colette awkwardly explains she needs Sion's credits to boost their team average to 21,000 to enter the race. Sion is just a glorified stat padder. He is furious. Will apologizes, but Sion demands to know why the failure suddenly wants to compete. Will ignores him, staring daggers at Julius across the room. Sion realizes it is personal. Colette explains the beef with Julius. Sion is insulted that Will considers Julius a rival, but sees Sion as absolutely nothing. The commentary booth features Mike and Professor Edward. Mike is terrified because sitting next to the most hated teacher. The Dark Viper usually results in death. He nervously announces the main event of the day. A massive spell transforms the stadium into a hazardous battle map. Volcanoes, swamps, rocks, forests, and fields. Unlike other events, this is a three-man team competition. Teams start at the outer edge and race to the center stadium to grab the giant crown. The map is filled with traps and enemy teams. Basically, it is a brutal battle royale where anything goes, and sabotage is encouraged. Edward claims this is a serious drill for an invasion scenario, but nobody cares about practical defense. Teamwork is completely non-existent here. The crowd just wants blood sport. If there was a secret gambling ring in the school, which totally exists, it is real. Ignule is the betting favorite, while Will has odds worse than a three-legged horse. Everyone laughs at the magicless kid entering the big leagues, but Will ignores the haters and keeps his chin up. As they line up, Werkner spots Will and nearly has a heart attack seeing him there. He tries to stop him, but Will is stubborn and refuses to back down now. Will says sorry for being difficult, but he is determined to win this thing, even if he looks ridiculous. He walks off. Werkner gives up, reminding Will that he signed the waiver, so the bodily harm is on him. If he dies painfully, he can't sue the school. Everyone is ready, so the chaos officially begins. The students charge, and Julius' squad immediately triggers a bunch of nasty traps. The magic cubes combine like Legos to form an army of angry golems. A mob of stone monsters is basically a game over screen for most students. However, Will sprint straight at them without touching the brake pedal. The crowd roasts him for charging a golem swarm when he couldn't even beat one in gym class. Will ignores the shade, signals Colette, and she buffs him with a magically summoned stone gauntlet. Armed with a rock fist, he absolutely smashes through the golems. The audience gasps, but Werkner knew the kid had a plan. With a magic fist, he deals massive damage without a sword. Since Colette cast the spell, it is technically legal, which is the best kind of legal. Defying the odds and ruining betting slips everywhere, Will breaks through the horde first. He sprints for the crown. Unknown to Will, Sion is mentally replaying the time Will saved him like a trauma loop. He views being rescued by a loser as a fate worse than death, so he has been training like a maniac to push his limits. Yet the magicless guy is still leaving him in the dust. Will's team currently holds a massive lead in the race. The goal is simple: grab the shiny hat. The others need to sprint to catch up as Will enters the rocky zone. Traps activate immediately, with floating cubes firing stone bullets like a machine gun turret. Will doesn't flinch. He punches the ground with his gauntlet, creating a stone wall to block the fire. He leaps out and calls for another assist. She summons a dozen stone swords, and Will throws them like darts to snipe the cubes out of the air. Mike yells that team will crush the rock zone and made the traps look like a joke. Their coordination is absolute perfection. Sion is basically AFK. while the crowd claims Will is getting carried by Colette's magic instead of his own skill. She provides the ammo, but Will's insane aim and combat sense are what actually clears the path. Technically, scouts are taking notes on the trap detection master. Even Edward, who hates his guts, has to admit the kid has put in the work. Years of dungeon grinding gave him superhuman reflexes, letting him exploit tiny gaps that normal wizards would miss while they are busy chanting spells. Another team gets salty about losing to a muggle. Their distraction leads them straight into a giant flower trap that eats them for lunch. Other squads are getting wrecked by the course, but despite the chaotic mess everywhere, Will keeps his team in first place. The stadium goes wild, loud enough for Julius to hear the hype from miles away. He demands a sitrep. His teammates cast a radar spell to ping the competition and check the leaderboard. They confirm Will is winning by an embarrassing amount. If they don't intervene, Julius takes the loss. But Julius stays chill, having a specific plan to ruin Will's day. Meanwhile, Team Will hits the final forest zone. Will triggers a massive chain of magic circles. It's a trap designed to blow them up, but he realizes he has the perfect counter for this specific setup. If they all trigger at once, he just needs to force a malfunction. He quickly digs around the circles, rotating them so the spells aim at each other and detonate harmlessly. Mike screams that Will disarmed the forest trap like a pro. He asks Edward for comment, since the teacher personally designed that failure. Edward just makes annoyed noises, pissed that the kid outsmarted his design. Despite their lead, getting closer to the stadium increases the danger. The odds of running into an enemy squad skyrocket in the final stretch. He has beaten a few scrubs, but he wants the big fish. Will plans to rush ahead and set up an ambush for Julius. He moves to secure the high ground for his trap. But Julius flips the script and attacks first. Will survives the blast, but is confused. How did Julius catch up so fast when they had such a huge lead? Also, Julius is solo, which smells like a trap. His teammates must be hiding in the bushes waiting to strike. Julius starts spamming ice missiles immediately. Will realizes he can't tank that, so he has to move. No time to check for campers, he has to focus on the ice mage. But suddenly, Sion decides now is the time to wake up. He starts charging up a nuke-level fire spell. The problem is the blast radius includes Will. Colette screams at him to dodge. Sion pulls the trigger. Colette reflexively throws up a stone wall to shield Will from getting roasted by his own teammate. The explosion rocks the entire map, leaving Will's ears ringing and his brain rebooting. He looks around and sees the forest is basically ash. Sion walks up, claiming Julius was blocking his shot. He might have hit the enemy, but Colette knows better. That spell was definitely aimed at Will's head. She demands an explanation. Sion claims he only joined the team to get this opportunity. He carried them into the event, so now he is cashing in his favor, a deathmatch against Will right here, right now. Will is confused why they are doing this mid-tournament, but Sion isn't in the mood for a debate or a therapy session. He fires a spell. Colette tries to stop the friendly fire, but she gets cut off. An ice wall blocks her path. Julius survived the nuke and is back to cause problems. Colette is cornered. Will tries to help her, but Sion blocks him from leaving. To keep him engaged, Sion throws more fire. He hits the sword, disarming Will. Will begs him to reschedule this duel, but Sion is locked in. He tells Will to pick up his weapon. With no choice, Will prepares to fight. Flashback time, Sion used to pity Will. He actually tried to be nice once, offering to make Will his lackey to protect him from bullies. He thought he was being a hero by offering his protection. But Will ignored the offer and kept walking. Sion chased him down, demanding to be taken seriously. Will just looked him in the eye and told him to move. Sion felt sorry for Will, but Will never felt sorry for himself. That confidence shattered Sion's ego. He couldn't handle being rejected by a loser who treated him like an NPC. That was the moment the hatred started. Back to reality. Will weaves through the burning trees, dodging fireballs. He ducks behind cover, but Sion blasts the tree, sending Will ragdolling across the dirt. He scrambles up, gripping his sword just as another wave comes. Will parries the flames, but the impact leaves him open. Sion capitalizes with a fire whip, launching Will through the forest.